Hi, it's Meredith. I am here with a new retrograde reading. I've heard from a good number of you how much you enjoyed the Making the Most of Mercury retrograde readings. I got a lot of emails over this, so I'm glad that you enjoyed them. And now that Mercury retrograde is officially over, I was contemplating, you've heard me say this too, what are we going to focus on next for a nice short little making the most of something reading. And imagine my surprise as I'm looking at my little moon diary when I discover that Saturn is going retrograde. Yeah, Saturday, June 4th, and it will be retrograde for 4 months. So to October 22nd, I believe. What does this all mean? I highly recommend you educate yourself on Saturn. It's pretty easy. Just type in the astrological influences of Saturn. And what does it mean, of course, for it to be retrograde? So I have a limited knowledge of astrology. By no means am I an astrologer. I am quite curious though, and I'll learn right alongside the rest of you. So what I know of Saturn right off the top of my head is that it is often referred to as the taskmaster. Lots of people groan and roll their eyes and complain a bit with the influence of Saturn because Saturn will not ever let up on what it is we require for knowledge, which is a fancy way of saying you got a lesson to learn, and Saturn is not going to take its foot off of your tail until you get the message. So we can honor the commitment of Saturn and its willingness to teach us. We can argue with ourselves about it. We can pout about it. And, we choose these things at random. Now, when Saturn is retrograde, we're still figuring out what kind of limitations we have, and we are still addressing our foundation. Saturn is a foundational planet. It's an outer planet. It's a slow mover, which is why when it goes into retrograde, let's say, it's there for about 4 months. It does not move swiftly. So while in retrograde, we have an opportunity to feel an ease of Saturn's influence. There's not as much of its taskmaster like energy bearing down on us. So we feel a bit of freedom, and it gives us an opportunity to address our foundation. And what's in our foundation, just like we were talking about the other day, what's within our sphere of influence, right? Our foundation. This is what is fundamental. Pardon the noise in the background. I've got chatty neighbors. What is fundamental to us for living happily in our world? What choices are we making foundationally, fundamentally, that create the kind of joy and happiness that we all talk about, dream about, manifest for, pray for, right? We have a chance right now with Saturn in retrograde to find some grace and ease in our own experience and in our own journey. So we'll talk about this more. We'll get educated together. I simply put a question to the deck. We're using Morgan Greer, by the way. I have a Saturn-like relationship with Morgan Greer, as in I love the deck, though it rarely ever cooperates with me. And true to form, I almost took a picture of this. I did one shuffle. I just picked the deck up and split it to shuffle the cards, and they just went everywhere. This happens with Morgan Greer and I. I'm willing to persevere though. Okay, so we're going to make the most of our Saturn retrograde. We're going to learn together what Saturn is doing for us and how to make the most of it. Our overall theme for our first day of Saturn in retrograde is, from the lovely ladies, Major Arcana. We're going to start with the Hanged One. We're going to have a whole new vision, a whole new perspective of how we view the world. I already have a feeling intuitively that is brewing from this. I feel that we are hanging upside down right there, taking a pause in the action to allow for enlightenment to dawn as we look at ourselves. I can't even believe I'm going to say this, and those who know me well are going to probably do when I say it. We're going to gaze into our own mirror and look at ourselves. Yes, I said it. Mirror. I know some of you are actually having a knee slap moment. So yeah, we are pausing for enlightenment as we gaze at ourselves in the mirror. What are we looking at? And that's the feeling that's brewing for me intuitively. So the Hanged One here is a perfect card to kick this reading off. We're going to have a new perspective of the limitations, thank you Saturn, that we place upon ourselves, likely out of programming and socially acceptable behavior. Oh gosh, a really dear soul in my a really dear soul in my world said to me once, you know how you have the sign on the door when you go into a store that shoes and shirts are required? Then they said, well, what if that's all you wore into the store? What about your pants? So there's a whole new perspective, right? I don't even know why I'm telling you that. Anyway, let's move on. From the Wisdom of the Oracle, how can we make the most of Saturn retrograde for ourselves today? Milk and honey. Yes, this is further confirmation of what I'm feeling intuitively. Milk and honey. The land of milk and honey lies within you, right? So what's happier than a baby elephant in a tub full of milk and honey underneath a rainbow? No shoes or shirts required there. Okay. This is bliss. This is some depiction of bliss, right? Total happiness, total joy expressed in soulful presence. And this is what we're looking at. And I am feeling intuitively how close to or far away from this bliss are we? Because this becomes something fundamental to us, and it's fundamental in every choice that we make. Same person who gave me the shirt shoes funny just said to me quite recently, why do we grind? Why do we grind on the stuff that's negative? And, you know, I think my response to that was, why do we allow ourselves to be distracted by something to grind upon that really pulls us out of this bliss over here? Why do we do that? Where did we learn that? So there's our first question, you know, to embrace any situation, experience that unfolds right in front of us. What is your first inclination? Is it a negative judgment, or is it compassionate acceptance of what simply is without judgment, in total neutrality? And how is it affecting you? So if you're seeing something what in a way that you might judge or deem ridiculous, do you have to take it on? Do you even have to talk about it again? And if you speak on it, is it bringing you any closer to your bliss, your milk and honey? So you can see here, when we bring in the taskmaster type energy, slightly lightened up in retrograde off of Saturn, we might allow ourselves a level of grace and ease to pay any of the stuff that's going on around us zero attention. Give it, where do you want to be investing your energy? We talk about this so frequently in the daily readings. We see how we can be investing our energy. So if we're quite literally grinding on a negative that has zero influence upon our world, like let's just say traffic. Why would we get angry at traffic? It's not something that we're even able to control. It just is. It's a flow and it's going at whatever speed it's going at. And yet there are road ragers everywhere, right? Everywhere. What's the point? What is the point? You are exactly where you are meant to be in every now moment. And have any of us considered that when we find ourselves in a traffic situation where we feel like we're being held up in some way, do we pause in the moment to consider that we might actually, in the wisdom of the universe, are we being spared something else? Consider it. Okay, Morgan Greer. Let's take a look at this deck. Before we turn these cards over, I will share with you, I've had this deck out on the tarot table for a week. And I've picked it up almost every single day and attempted to shuffle a message out of this deck. I am truly heart space drawn to the Morgan Greer. And when I shuffle it, rarely, if ever, do cards fall out. So I am elated that they've come out for Saturn in retrograde. I think this deck has a sense of humor. Okay, our first card, making the most of this retrograde. So we're looking at our commitments. We're looking at what is foundational, fundamental to us, what is potentially limited for us. And our first card in making the most of, we have the Queen of Wands. And I couldn't be more delighted to see this beautiful queen. I love her. She is the outspoken queen. She says what's in her heart mind. She speaks her truth. She is authentic. She's passion. She's fire. She's Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. She is the center of attention without ever commanding it or demanding it. She simply is her authentic, raw, loving, beautiful self. And where are we limited in that description? So let's look again at milk and honey under the rainbow. Where could we be limiting this kind of bliss in our world? Perhaps we really do need the perspective of the Hanged One, looking at the world differently, looking at our world differently. And, we spoke on this very recently in a daily reading. Still sticking to my shirt shoes person who'd said they'd watched a YouTube presentation about what does it really mean just not to give a shit about what anybody else thinks. This queen epitomizes that. She doesn't care about what anybody else thinks. She's not callous. She's not tactless. She is committed. There it is, commitment to her heart space. Where's our commitment to our heart space? And where's our commitment to our heart space in relationship to our most important relationships? Oh, goodness. Okay. And then here comes the Five of Coins, almost like an answer to those questions. Are we somewhat destitute in the way that we tend our bliss? This is so perfect. This really does come up so nicely. This is card witching at its finest here with the tarot, because are we giving to ourselves? Are we not only giving to ourselves, are we giving everywhere else in our overflow? And that's what love, bliss, joy, and happiness is all about on a fundamental level in self-relationship. So are we being our raw, authentic, pure, spirited, soulfully present person? Or are we not invested enough, Five of Coins, in our own selves to express in the way that this queen would? I feel so passionate about this because I stifled my own voice for a lot of years, being nice, being a people pleaser. I'm not ashamed of this. It's a wonderful lesson, and Saturn probably had a great hand in it for me. Though at my core, I feel I'm a rather outspoken, gregarious kind of soul. Leo is my sun sign, so why would I not shine like the sun? I know what it is to dim my own light, and I feel like so often we do that to be accepted. And the Queen of Wands is like, F that, honey. Right? So bring yourself in to your own light. Bring yourself out of the cold, because that is an unstable place to live. And it doesn't keep us in harmonious union with our bliss. What a great perspective. Next. Speaking of harmony, here comes Justice. I love this. Sword of Truth in her hand, scales in her hand. There's Libra energy. And, you know, not many people know this, but the Justice card is another one of those great love cards. It really does indicate beautiful love. And I feel that in a way we're holding these scales. Is our heart as light as a feather in self-relationship? How are you going to weigh out on these scales? Are they going to come to balance, or are they going to be tipped? And if they're, if they're tipped, where are they tipped? Are they tipped into the 5 of coins? If so, what's it going to take for you to bring some balance? Perhaps it's deciding, choosing you. Please you, not all the other people. Consider it. Unconditional loving kindness for self and others is a great way to go. So if you're not giving yourself unconditional loving kindness and you're giving it everywhere else, likely there's a pattern of the 5 of coins somewhere in your world that's really uncomfortable, and simply asking for harmony. Next. Oh, High Priestess. Gosh, they could be the same being right there. This also means that quite likely you've been receiving messages about this, and with the 5 of coins present, possibly not listening to those messages or following the inner wisdom that they offer. So High Priestess, she's very discreet. She is very consistent. And she is our inner oracle, the barometer of our intuition. And she is whispering to each and every one of us the required wisdom to bring these scales into balance and harmony. Look at that. And there's the Magician. Bring heaven to earth, as above, so below. There's the bliss. And that's how you do it. So you start choosing your words differently, such as, I feel is validating. I am is creating. We've done this one before. It's a great affirmation. I may temporarily feel, because feelings are temporary, X, Y, or Z. Though I am coming into, let's say, harmony and balance, because I am creative in harmony and balance in self-relationship. That's how we bring heaven to earth. That's how we restore balance to what is out of balance over here. And it speaks the truth. First, it validates the feeling. Then we begin to recognize that we don't turn on and off like a light switch in the way that we feel. So we have the opportunity to allow that flow to restore itself by saying, though I am coming into harmony and balance. And then we state the creative, I am, because I am harmonized. I am balanced in self-relationship. So that's how we even the scales for ourselves, by listening to our intuitive wisdom. So it's going to go something like this. You'll hear a negative in your inner dialogue, and you'll catch it. You'll have the, oh my gosh, I can hardly believe that I'm thinking that way, right? Let's just say you're having a chunky day. You feel kind of chunky in your clothes. We all have them. And you utter something negative like that to yourself. That comes out of old programming belief systems. Somebody handed you that sound bite. So you could be saying, gosh, I feel so fat today. Right? Or, see, I'm good at the I feel. Let's do this. I'm so fat today. You realize you're creating with the I am. You want to switch it to an I feel. I may temporarily feel chunky today. Though I am coming into harmony and balance within self-relationship and self-image. Because I am healthy. And I am vibrant. and I am fit as a fiddle. Whatever it takes for you, whatever the words are, just put them together for yourself. Yeah, what are you seeing when you look in the mirror? Are you being overly critical of how your jeans fit today? Good. 10 of coins. Here it is, because this is our milk and honey over here. The 10 of coins. It is a legacy of happiness that we build for ourselves. This is our foundation. So we have an opportunity today in the Saturn retrograde to turn our world upside down, think of things a little bit differently, and review and assess, am I closer to or further from my own personal bliss over here? How can I speak over my life and my world in a way that is not diminishing or bringing me to an emotionally destitute place, but instead to a much more light-hearted way of living and being? I know I can listen to my inner wisdom and I can make magic out of that, because the truth is I really exist here in the 10 of coins, and I am adding to my foundation of happiness and love with every positive choice I make. Shazam. Okay, everybody. Thanks for joining me on this reading. I hope you enjoyed these as much as you enjoyed the Mercury retrograde messages. I don't know that we'll be doing one of these every single day, because, you know, Saturn's going to be retrograde for 4.5 months or so. And I think we'll tune in at random here with what's going on with Saturn. Peace, happiness, bliss. Yeah, bliss. Milk and honey bliss. Namaste.